I don't recommend waiting till you have enough money. You'll never have enough money. It doesn't matter how much money you make, then your problems become proportional to the amount of money you make. It never, never, never stops.
Welcome back, investor. We got another episode of Passive Income Adventures. We have Maurice Philogene with us today. I took a lot of French in high school, Maurice, and so I really want to say it with the accent, but how do you
I'll do it.
pronounce
I'll
it?
do it. Philogene. Maurice Philogene.
Philogene, yeah.
Yeah, there you
Actually,
go.
I actually learned how to speak French in college. Like I really solidified it because there was a Haitian student who did not speak any English, and he really taught me a lot of French. So
Me.
I always pronounce it in my head in the French accent, but I was like, I wonder how he pronounces it himself.
No, but I it's good old American Maurice.
There we go. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on the show today. For those
Of
of you
course.
who are new to this podcast, first time, my name is Emma Powell. We retired before age 50 on passive income. My husband left his corporate job. We're 100% full time real estate investors. And we realized as we were making the passive income journey ourselves, trying to get rental income and distributions and truly passive income, like what it was and what it wasn't, and really wanted to share the story, pull back the curtain on what it takes to get it, what it actually is, and to dispel some of the myths and hopefully prevent people from falling into a lot of scams where they're trying to invest or run businesses that are not really going to yield passive income. So we have people on the show like Maurice who are walking the talk, doing the thing. A lot of real estate investors. We also have a lot of entrepreneurs on the show who just basically share like how they're earning money and how they're investing money so that they can build a lifestyle. So we'll talk about Maurice, I'll have you introduce yourself, your backstory, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about what you're up to right now, what you're an expert at, what you can offer to the listener or the viewer, depending on if you're on YouTube or not. And then
Yeah.
just talking about lifestyle design, bucket list stuff, and what
Mhm.
life looks like after you achieve financial freedom and how that affects the choices that you make on how you spend your time. So thanks for coming on with us today.
Yeah, it's I don't even know where to start, but yeah, it's my pleasure for sure. My
So
pleasure.
you're calling it from Maryland. Tell us a little bit about your story. Go ahead and introduce yourself. I know a lot of podcasts are like, I'm going to read the little bio that somebody sent me, and it's the same thing.
Yeah,
Whatever. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself and why you should be on the show.
no doubt. I don't think I'm easy to introduce either. Now, the more I've gotten around, the more I realize that my story is a little bit different. But so, Maurice Philogene. So I'm based in the state of Maryland, but I split my time between Maryland and the country of Lebanon. I'll start at the end. I always think the end is easier. I just turned 49. I am retired out of the W-2 world like you, your husband. That happened in 2021 when I was 46. I could have left the W-2 world 2014 when I was 38 years
Mhm.
old. That's a result of passive income, which I'll get into. But I did 25 years at Accenture, which is a global IT management
Yep.
consulting firm. I did 22 years in the military, retired as a lieutenant colonel, and my career field was as a federal agent. And then I was also a midnight police officer in the Washington, D.C. area, and I retired from that too. All those quote unquote retirements, I don't want to call them retirements because it's not like I did them to go retire. I was doing them because I just enjoyed doing them. I
Mhm.
could have, as I said, I could have left working when I was 38, but I didn't. You alluded to it, but I'm a big lifestyle design person. I have designed my life in a specific way where I tell people I don't need a vacation. I don't think I've taken a quote unquote vacation in 10 years because I just don't need one. My life is totally virtual and it has a lot to do with real estate and other businesses that I've started, but it's more so intentional and choices about life and the types of businesses that I get involved in, the types of people I get involved with, and the types of places where I go. So life for me now is I run Quattro Capital along with my four partners. We are a private equity firm like Rise, and we syndicate apartment complexes. We'll raise private funds to go do different things. I think we started in late 2019, early 2020. We've done about 30 apartment complex syndications since, about $200 million worth of stuff. And my interest in overseas, specifically the Mediterranean, came about because of real estate. I wanted to live overseas, but I didn't want to be the American dude who would just pop into a restaurant
Yeah.
there. So I got involved with real estate development in the country of Cyprus and it's been a run. It's been a run. All of that, to your point, was fueled by my desire to be able to control my life. And I realized in my early 20s that if I could generate passive income, I could have time or life options. And if I could do that, then I could have all these experiences to include working. Like you can't be a police officer as an entrepreneur. It doesn't work that way. So I wanted those experiences. but it was all driven by my early 20s decisions to invest in real estate.
Well, okay, so take us back even farther than that. What was it that sparked your desire? Because I want to live abroad. My family's really not that interested in it. I
Yeah.
lived abroad when I was in college, and it was one of my favorite adventures that I've ever gone on, and it's been something that I've held in the back of my head ever since. And so I feel
Yeah.
like I'm forcing my family to, you'll like it, I promised. So tell me where that desire came from, because a lot of people want to do it, but here you are now actually doing
Yeah.
it. And for those of us who've actually done it, we realize like there are pros and cons. There's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of stress, just visas, how do you work, getting money from one country to the other, and making sure that you're not overstaying. And there's just a lot of bureaucracy that goes on. And I think that's a little bit of a downside. It's to me, it's worth it, but a lot of people are like thinking they want to do it. And I think that's the one big thing about passive income that maybe you can share is that we think that once we achieve this thing, we're going to be living this amazing lifestyle where we never have any problems. And for me, I think this sounds negative. I think more about upgrading the quality of my problems because I'm enough of a realist to know they're not going away. But to be able to say these problems are problems of my choosing, these problems are good problems to have type of thing. So, how did you get to that point where I want to live abroad? How do you manage that from a logistics standpoint? And people are like, oh, I'd love to live abroad, but I could make enough money. It's like we always talk about after making all the money, and sometimes we never talk about how we got to the point where those dreams can start to become a reality.
Yeah, I don't recommend waiting till you have enough money. You'll never have enough money. It doesn't matter how much money you make, then your problems become proportional to the amount of money you make. It never stops. That's why okay, so I am 99 countries, over 400 times at this point. I started traveling when I was 15. I got the bug of it because my dad sent me to France on a trip with an exchange student when I was 15, and it just opened my eyes to the fact that the world was a lot bigger than Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And it never stopped from there. And what happened on that trip, which was a road trip through France in a Range Rover with my friend Matthew, who we're still cool to this day after 35 years, and his dad, was just the emotions that I had on that trip. So just think, it's 1990. I'm inner city kid, inner city Boston kid, Haitian immigrant. Like I was a good kid, but I was starting to go down a rocky path, if you will. My parents even got wind of it and put me in private school, and that almost didn't help. That trip did because it woke me up. It made me
Mm,
realize that life was bigger than Blue Hill Avenue in Boston or getting sneakers or my aspirations to play professional football. And I just had so much emotions on that trip that I wanted more of it. So that's the first thing.
yeah.
That was the first indication that life was more than money to me, was that trip. The second thing that happened to me was I read the book Personal Finance for Dummies when I was 21. It sparked this thing about passive income. If I can create income devoid of my need to be somewhere, then I can create time. If I can create time, then I can go do more things where I have some of those emotions and relationships again, which I have, and I've never stopped. So that's where my interest came from. But I will tell you, when people ask me, do I want to see the whole world? Because I've been so many different places, my response is absolutely not. I never continue to travel the way that I do, even in my lifestyle today, because I want to see everything. It was because I want to stay in the beginner's mindset. It's
Oh,
because when I go to Costa Rica or Brazil or Lebanon or Cyprus or Luxembourg, the socioeconomic issues in those countries are different from Washington, D.C. or New York City. I'm born in Queens, New York, raised in great city of Boston, go Celtics. And then I've been in the Washington, D.C. area ever since. The East Coast is not going to teach me anything else. I know the East Coast of the United States. But when I go home to Lebanon, or when I'm doing business in Cyprus, or when I'm swinging through southern France to visit friends, your brain is not accustomed to those societies. So your brain has to think about, how do I talk to this person? How do I get this bus? What if something happens to me? How do I go to the hospital, et cetera, et cetera? I have always loved about international locations the fact that it puts you back in the beginner's mindset, period. Because you and I are experts in where we live. We know it. I know how to get to Walmart. I'm cool. I know how to take
yeah.
the metro. I'm cool. But when I go to Beirut, for example, not only do I got to navigate a city, I got to navigate all the international madness that's going on there. And it keeps us living. So that's where the love of it came from and why I still do that to this day. And why I've now split my life between these two countries, because I don't I want to keep learning. I want to live. I want to feel. I want to have relationships. I want to have experiences. I'm still doing real estate deals, but I'm not like humping it anymore
Yeah.
because my definition of success now is 3-hour Mediterranean dinners with my friends and family. I want
Yeah.
that. Right. So I don't want to just press repeat. So that's why the international stuff is so important to me.
I don't think I've ever really heard anyone describe it that way before. I've never really thought about it that way myself before. It's like staying in kind of that beginner mindset or going out and learning. My sister did elder care for quite a while, and she
Yeah.
said that a lot of her patients, when you're doing in home health, are very wealthy. And so one of her guys just had so much money, he just didn't even know what to do with it. He said, I give it away to my kids. I donate it to charities." He goes, "What do I need another round the world cruise?" Like, it's just gotten to the point in my life where I'm just like, I don't know what else to do, where else to go. There's always new stuff to learn, but I'm bored of even learning. And that was that was such eye opener for me as an 18-year-old kid listening to her stories with her patients and really helping to frame how I thought about money. Cause at the time I was a live-in nanny
Yeah.
for a pair of physicians, and it's just seeing life from a different perspective than I'd ever seen it while she
Mhm,
was doing her
mhm,
in-home nursing. And those
mhm.
kinds of experiences really shape us. So I've never really thought about it just like staying young, staying fresh.
Yeah,
And
but I resonate with him now. So
uh,
let me clarify one thing. I have been to 100 countries over 400 times, but I recently went to Norway, which was my 99th country, but that was to visit somebody.
uh,
But I've been, for example, to Lebanon maybe 60 times in the last 4 years and now have a house there, or an apartment there.
mhm.
I'm not I'm not experiencing new things as much anymore. What's happening to me now is I have a deep desire to become very proficient where I live. So I'm always there. Like I have my neighborhood friends, I have my entrepreneurial friends there. I have people who I consider family, and now I'm just reinvesting. Now I'm reinvesting. So Maryland is one flagpole for me. Beirut or Lebanon itself, the country isn't. I live in a coastal town. It's another flagpole for me. It feels good. I'm in total control of it. And I think you do get to an age where it's, nah, it's enough. I don't want to go explore new stuff. I want to get better at the stuff that I know at this point. But over the
Okay.
journey, man, I wanted to learn everything to include why you and I started businesses in various capacities and different types of passive income and all that type of stuff too.
Yeah, I wonder if it's less about learning new things or experiencing new things and more about developing mastery or expertise. Some of our passive investors tell me the same thing. It's, oh, we lived half the year in Mexico and we're volunteering and doing the humanitarian stuff over and this. And at one point, one of them told me, he says, I really want to be back in my hometown and I only want
Yeah.
to do investments in the hometown. I want to run for office like the school board or something like that and really just make a huge impact in this small community. And it was a big shift for him to shift from traveling all over in the passive income, open horizons to saying, now I really want to go deep into this one area.
Yes. Isn't that the value of it? And this is what people on social media or whatever will never see. And I'll say it. My journey to passive income was through condominiums. I bought my first one in late 2001. I was very fortunate because it was at the beginning of the real estate boom cycle of the early
Yeah.
2000s. When that thing appreciated, it was just a place to live, Emma. But when that thing appreciated 30 grand in 3 months and my father explained equity to me, I was
Yeah.
very young. I was 25 years old. I was like, what? So I made $30,000. Why? So he told me that. We didn't have, it was like pre Google, right? So I went to the library. I just started reading. And I was like, what the hell? I facetiously say I always sat on a Saturday in aisle 6 of the Fairfax County, Virginia library. It was true because I was learning all these concepts. So by the end of 2002, I bought 10 more. Now, this is at a time when there were no doc loans and low down payments
Mhm.
and but what I'm proud of my young self for doing was just taking a chance. I got a piece of advice from this realtor who was helping me out. I bought 10, and let me caveat I bought. I saved down. It took me 5 years to save my first down payment. 5, but I was diligent and I did it. But the next 10 or so, I could use small down payments. I took some money out of my 401. I did whatever I could do to get my hands on real estate. But the realtor told me something that really stuck with me. And I'm so grateful. And I'm sure she's passed by now because back then she was 70 years old. And she said, because I was like, hey, can you come with me out into DC and get something that's like 300, 400 grand? But I was buying price point of like 80 to 90 to
Mhm.
100 grand. And she said, Maurice, don't do that. And I said, why? Best thing she ever said. Listen, buy 12 little ones, like a dozen, okay? Instead of buying the big dodo egg. Because if you buy the dozen and over your years of working, you slowly pay them off, you've created a pension. Remember, my value system in my 20s was, how do I free up my time to get back to travel and having those relationships and experiences with people? So I did it. So I got up to 35 condos and single family homes. I sold a bunch of them that had appreciate. I had my problems. Don't get me wrong. I did.
Yeah. Oh boy.
But
Red
I got up, because I don't want people, they're like, whoa, that's incredible. No, it was shitty. It was
Hard.
terrible in a lot of cases. I got up to 35, a bunch of them appreciated. I found myself in 2014 with 18 paid off homes, generating 13 grand a month. Paid off. People are like, how did you do that on such a small salary? Because my average salary is 80 to 100 grand, because the equity in a lot of them had gone up because of the boom cycle. And I was smart enough, I don't know why, but I was smart enough to realize, sell some of these before the value shifts. And I did. So I had 18 paid off. And when I had the 18 paid off, I knew I quote unquote made it when somewhere in 2015, I realized I hadn't looked at my bank account in 6 months. I hadn't used my paychecks from my company Accenture. I wasn't using it. And I was like, "Oh my god, I think I'm technically financial." And it just hit me. Now here's the thing. Why wouldn't you quit? Leave work. Why? When you have money to cover your basic needs, you quickly start to realize that life was never about money in the first place. We just needed it as a tool. But I liked what I was doing from a corporate perspective. I also wanted the W 2 so I could get more loans. Then I became a police officer in 2008. I loved being a police officer at the same time as being a corporate executive. Then I was in the military. Then I was opening coffee shops and owning clubs and restaurants. I was having so much fun. And people are like, well, you were making enough money. You just got to bounce. That's not the point. The point of the passive income for me was to control myself. It was just pure control. So when the corporate game was like, "Hey, you haven't promoted or you haven't," I was never stressed at all. No
Yeah.
one ever knew. No, they didn't. Nobody controlled me. Nobody has controlled me since, quote unquote, controlled me since 2014. That's the power of it. It's beyond, oh, I have money, I'm going to go buy shit. That's not the point. At least for me, it wasn't the point. The point was, quietly, because I never talked about my journey until starting in 2021. Quietly in the background, I was making more from real estate than I was making from my corporate entity, but I was adding the real estate income, the corporate income, the police income, the military income, not buying a ton of commercial shit. And I would go out and buy more property, down payments, or I lost money on a coffee shop and then invested in clubs and restaurants, but also experiencing life, getting on a plane on a Wednesday night, flying to Turkey, sit by the Aegean Sea, read a book, and fly back on Monday.
Yeah.
I would be doing this stuff all the time. That's the power of it. So I think people don't understand how much life compounds on itself when you have time and control.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so many. Okay. I gotta pick back up and think of
All
what I
right.
want to ask you. There's so much stuff in there. I wrote down a couple of questions while we were chatting. Well, let's just start with define passive income according to Maurice, because I know what my definition is.
It's
Took
different
me
for
a
every.
while to reach that, what
Yeah.
I think it is. And I know I mentioned before the show, my husband sent an article to our because we have young adult kids who are trying to figure all this stuff out. And so I love having guests on the podcast to talk to that younger, like 18 to 25 age, because that's what all my kids are like. Everybody you interview is like rich and I'm so bored. How do I get there? So asking these questions are really important to our family. And he sent him an article that said like 10 passive income things to generate passive income. And I read it and I just started ranting. I'm texting the family group like, this is not passive income. Starting an online course and using your personal brand and sell it is not passive income. It's
Uh,
like starting monetize your social media channels. You know how much work it is to edit a YouTube video? Like, I was really angry. I said, this is why young people, especially, get sucked into these kinds of things. Not that those businesses are bad. They're great businesses, but they are not passive income. And
no,
I said,
no.
passive income is when you put your money in a business you don't run and they give you distributions. But
Yes.
even a rental business, even a rental business
Yes.
is not passive income. So what is passive income to you?
Of your need to physically be somewhere or physically do something to generate it. Now, I'm not saying generating passive income is passive, but there is passive income, because
Mhm.
that journey that I just walked you through of the 35 homes, selling some and then paying off the rest, technically it's passive because there's no mortgages to pay, but I still have to manage it. I still
Yeah.
have to pay the real estate taxes on it, deal with the property managers, etc. But I don't know, 20 single family homes in addition to the apartment complexes. That particular property there's two of them. I talk with them once a month, maybe for 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
that's the income, not my apartment complexes. It's the single family home stuff that I live off
Me
of.
too.
The little
Same,
stuff, right?
same.
But I also want to say I was an actor. Still one, but I was an actor on TV for a while, TV shows and movies and stuff. I still get residual income from that stuff, like random checks for $500, $300, $1,000 that shows up. That's passive income. Intellectual property can generate passive income. I get passive income from dividend stocks as well. So I will specifically buy stocks that pay out a dividend. While I don't take the income, I want it to be reinvested to go buy more. I
Mhm.
purposefully buy stocks that generate dividends because it's passive, but I know it's going back to buy more. The bottom line is, I tell my kids too, buy things that pay you. When we go out and American culture, they got us, man. When we go out and buy that third car with payments, and we got to send somebody $822.58 per month for 6 years, that's their passive income just coming without them doing anything. And if we don't pay it, then they can repossess the thing that generates the income. Folks have got to get on the other side of the equation. They've got to realize you either are somebody's passive income or you are generating passive income. You can go out and get a job you love and live a happy life. You can go get a virtual job and live a happy life. But the distinction that I want to tell people, if you have a job you love, like me when I was a police officer, or if you have virtual income, great. But there's going to come a day, Emma, when you either physically cannot do the job, don't want to do the job, or the job's going to tell you we don't need you. Then what? Which
Yep.
is why I tell people to always buy assets. Stop buying commercial crap every single weekend. Try and buy some assets along the way. And then 15 years later, 15 years, not 2 days, 15, 20 years later, you have something that will pay you something, right? It's just not taught and it's not a prevalent part of our societal structures. People aren't benefiting from it.
Yeah, that is gold. You're either generating somebody else's passive income or generating your own passive income. My son, he was a little kid and had to go to he has autism, so his therapist told him
Oh, mine too.
either yeah, I think everybody has
Yeah,
it in some
everyone
way. So,
nowadays.
but she told him, she said, "You either control your life or somebody else will control it for
That's
you." And he
right.
was
That's
probably
right.
6 or
That's
7 when
right.
she told him this. And so it's become a mantra in our home. You control it or somebody else will control it for you.
Love that.
People who understand how this stuff works will be making interest off of you. Why aren't you making interest off of them? So I do a lot of private lending. Take my money, go
Yeah.
flip a house. You do all the work, pay me 10 or 12% of my money.
Yeah.
So that to me, it's not taxed as passive income. Interest income is considered earned income.
Mhm.
But from a practical standpoint, like it's the easiest stuff. I make more off of my small rentals. And that's something you said that really caught me because I think as we're out there raising capital for
Yeah.
apartment buildings,
I know where you're
we
going.
we
Yeah.
don't get the story like, I have passive income and retired early because I have 10 paid off rentals. And we've started selling ours and reinvesting it in hard money fund and things like that. And I'm a little terrified because I feel like I'm killing the golden goose, so to speak, even though I'm reinvesting it. And it's worked so
Yeah.
well. It's worked so well. But I raise money for apartments and I raise money
Yeah.
for whatever. So how do you balance that social media message
Uh,
when it's we got this other stuff going on behind the scenes? I've been private lending for years. I've got small rental for years. That pays me better than the big stuff. The big stuff pays me
I
often.
agree, and I have tempered my approach to my talk track with
Mhm,
investors who are part of the Quattro Capital family or anybody I talk to. But I think that is, and I don't know your story and all that stuff, so I comment there. I coach in lifestyle design and money's a part of it. Da, da. I tell
mhm.
people that original journey that I did to get to 18, I still have 15 of the original 18 and then a few other things. I never sold them. And my thought process was protect the golden goose per se, and you can do whatever else you want to do out of life, you do it from there. But that thing is going to be the thing that takes care of you for your whole life. When I sell an apartment complex or when I do some other business or something, like I got a windfall, maybe 500,000, 500,000 from a sale a year and a half ago. And I had some loans on some single families and a small business that I had. I didn't go reinvest it. I paid everything off. I think there really does come a point in your journey where you should start to look at the whole point of doing outside of learning or helping people. The whole point of doing the financial journey was so you have the ability to live life that you want or live a lifestyle that doesn't need a vacation, right? If I, at this point in life, continue to reinvest, I think that's great, but to what end? Like, if I double my net worth again, I'm not going to get doubly happy. It doesn't work like that. But even on our big apartment complex deals, I love apartment complexes. I think they are fantastic. They can cash flow, assuming the uncontrollables in the market not doing what they're doing now.
Yeah.
But I tell my investors on my journey, when I get a windfall out of multifamily, sometimes I'll reinvest it, but a lot of times I'm securing a piece of life that I will never take away again.
Okay. Yeah. That needs to be a t-shirt.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and there's gonna be so many great little YouTube shorts off of this one. Doubling my net worth doesn't double my happiness. Like all of these types of things, it's just things that you've learned by just doing it. Like you could have read that in a book and repeat it back, but there's just something different about when you learn those things yourself. So you're doing the same thing that I am. It's like for so many years we were like multifamily because that's what I was doing as more of a long term nest egg type of investment. And that's very different than the short term keep the lights on type of investing, like the private lending and the smaller rentals, and being able to say the diversification has become my new mantra online. It's like, this is what I'm doing. It's an entire portfolio strategy. Because when multifamily is doing what it's doing right now, it's hard to be beating the multifamily drum. Like deals are coming,
Brutal.
and so many people are so burned by that that it would be tone deaf to
Very.
continue to be beating that drum. I
I
feel
there's a
like
way I think there's a way we can clarify it for everyone, and this is how I talk to investors, friends, and family. I tell them that real estate is purposeful. It's a purposeful endeavor. You don't the fact that I don't know what I control now, maybe 2,100 units at the moment or something. That doesn't mean that the next person should own or control 2,100 units. I have a this story sticks out to me because when I was at Accenture, a friend of mine who worked for the company, he started buying condos with me because somehow he got wind what I was doing.
yeah.
And he ended up buying 4 luxury condos because I had some relationships in the city with developers. And he did exactly what I did. One of them appreciated, he paid off in general 2 of them and then used or whatever he did, and then used his paychecks over a 10-year period to pay off everything else. Okay. He
Hmm.
bounced. So he was generating 4 or 5K, I can't remember, and he bounced and he went to Thailand. He has 3 kids now. He may have a fourth, but he has 3 kids. And last I talked with him, he was just being a bartender in Thailand. Now, here's the I don't want anyone to be
Oh, I
like,
love
"Well,
it.
I don't wanna move to Thailand." No, I'm not telling you to move to Thailand. I'm telling you that his version of success was I just need 4 or 5 grand.
Yep.
Imma roll to a place where that amount of money makes me a king. I'm gonna find a beautiful life partner, have a wonderful family, and live.
Yep.
Meanwhile, social media and unfortunately a lot of syndicators and things like that perpetuate this myth of you got to have 5,000 units to be X, to be free, to be you don't have to do any of this shit. The reason I'm still doing it is because I have goals related to helping people in society, but other people's versions of success are different. You don't need to go this large route. You could do one place. You could do 3 triplexes, leveraging an FHA, live in one, rent out the other 2. A year later, go live in another one, rent out the other 2, buy another one, and just do 5 of those. And by the time you've cycled through all those places, you're probably generating anywhere between 7 to 10K. Now you can go live.
Yep.
What are we doing?
Yep.
People have
Oh,
lost the point of all of this, which is to live. That's why I say it's real estate is purposeful to the style of life and what it is that you are trying to do. I don't need to do much more at this point.
oh, as a stay-at-home mom for so many years, I feel like I had that mindset for a long time. When my husband was working a W-2 and bringing in a good paycheck,
Yeah.
wasn't always bringing in a good paycheck, but when he was bringing in a good paycheck, when he wasn't laid off or undervalued or whatever, I got to think about my life in a very different way because I could go be a graphic designer or teach online
Yes.
courses or, oh, I don't know, I was a photographer for 10 years and I was bringing in, say, 30K a year, working a few hours a week. And it
Yep.
wasn't really that hard. And I could choose what I wanted to do and what really interested me because I didn't need to make a lot of money. So your bartender in Thailand thing, that's like really hitting home because I,
It's
I
happening.
joke with my husband. I'm like, if you had to go get another job, would you go back to, for whatever reason, this whole thing implodes, what would you do? He goes, I would go work at Home Depot. I-
Me too. I'd be at Starbucks or something. You know what I'm doing something simple.
yes. Oh, yeah. So such good stuff. But let's go on
Hit
the
me.
track that you just making.
Okay.
And let's talk about business and scalability because there's so much out there. Gary Vaynerchuk and Alex Hormozy are going to help you scale your business. And here's how you scale. And I'm listening to these books or these podcasts and things like that. And I'm like, how? I don't think I want to do that. I don't really want to scale to that. There's this burning desire in me, like you said, to help people. And I
Yeah.
want to scale the business because I want to have an impact. And in order to do that, I have to make myself uncomfortable and scale my business and overshare on social media and I'll work at a podcast, all those things. But at the core of it, I just want to go be a bartender. And so, how do you balance? Let's move off to the future, your own lifestyle design.
Yeah.
How do you balance having a large impact that drives us with the low speed lifestyle and still be able to afford what you want to do and not get stuck in another rat race? You're the epitome of this, your story that you're telling is the epitome of somebody purposely staying out of a rat race, yet still
Yeah.
figuring out intentionally how to have impact. So describe to us how you're doing that right now and what that looks like for you, say 10 years into the future.
10 years into the future when so I'll go backwards. So if I'm 10 years into the future, I'm 59. 4 years earlier, I will have divested myself of 130, 40, $50 million of investor money. I'm no longer on a personal level. Quattro may do more, but on a personal level, I'm no longer partnering or taking funds with people because by the time I'm 54, really, I want to return all of it. I,
Mm,
I, I don't want to be encumbered. I want the people that I helped to reach a particular goal, reach the goal and bounce. The mistake that I'm very grateful that I have two mentors. One is extremely wealthy, think nine figures, but the other one is more philanthropy related. They are both in their mid 60s and they both gave me a similar piece of advice in a different way. But I'll sum it up by saying they both expressed that they got out of the game 15 years too late.
mm,
And what they meant was, look, I'm 65 years old. Why am I on calls with investors or nonprofit organizations or unless it's a passion, but why am I still doing this when the purpose of all this was so I could live well, but instead of living, I am still in my own relative rat race of doing all these things, yet I have enough money to live calmly. Okay. That's me. I don't, I'm very intentional about not being busy nowadays. I do want impact. That's how you
mhm,
found me. We've connected on social media before, but I like posting. I like putting my podcast out. And then I do speaking. I was in Lebanon and someone asked me to speak at the Auburn Graduate School of Business. So I flew 6,000 miles to go speak to 50 people. But it's my version of success, right?
nice.
I like impact that way. When it comes to scale, I don't want my name on the side of a building. I don't want no damn employees. All my mail is virtual. My businesses are virtual. I have apps. I have processes. I have 12 property managers. I no longer have a virtual assistant. I've gotten so basic in what I do that I don't even need a virtual assistant to help anymore because I'm descaling everything. This notion of scale, like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about scale and all that, I think scale is great when you want to have impact. If you can be a wonderful person, but you're going to have to scale if you want to have impact on millions of people. It's either going to be through social media or some enterprise that you are going to build, but you can scale a different way. I have 5,000 residents, 2,000 apartments, 30 apartment complexes, 12 property managers who handle them, apps, business processes, no employees, no brick and mortar. I run everything by email, by this laptop that you and I are on, and by a cell phone. My phone is on perpetual do not disturb. My phone goes on do not disturb at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. My phone is on do not disturb. Not kidding. There's just a list of 17 people who can get through. And then if it's an investor, I call them back right away. Like I'll always come back to them. But you have to make a conscious choice on what your life is going to be when everyone is listening to all these gurus and things. Why are you scaling if that has nothing to do with what you want out of life? Why?
Mhm.
Because social media, society, it's back to the days of 20 to 30 years of formal education telling us what to be, telling us what success looks like. You got to go to Harvard to be successful. Who's going to be the prom king, the prom queen, make the AP classes? Everybody wants to compete. And all of a sudden, when Johnny never even wanted 2,000 apartments, he's chasing 2,000 apartments because Maurice and Emma had 2,000 apartments. It's silly. Maurice, why don't you have 10,000 apartments? You can do it. No shit. I don't want 10,000 apartments. In fact, I don't want 2,000. I don't recommend it at
Yeah,
all.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of
Yeah.
stress. And that's one of the reasons why I took a step back from asset management and said,
Yeah.
I'm only going to raise capital. reason why, and people who listen to this show have heard me say this before.
Yeah.
Have you noticed when you find the deal and you have to manage the deal, you still have to raise the money for the deal because somebody comes onto the team and says, I can raise all the money. And then it's 90 days later, they're like, "I raised all the money." And so you're
That's
giving somebody else too much control. So we're all out there raising money together. When I realized I got to raise money on all these, I thought if I found the deal, I managed the deal, I wouldn't have to raise money. I'm not good at raising money. There are things about it that I like, but overall, it makes me very uncomfortable. But I switched over because I have to do this. I might as well specialize because I'm not going to get good at it if I'm distracting myself,
if
finding a
you're all
deal,
over the
managing a
place.
deal.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's helped me to actually cut back a lot on how much I'm working. I can scale a capital raising business much more easily than I can scale an apartment
I got
syndication
you. Got you.
business.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
have you found the same thing in yours as you're having to scale back? You have to step away from deal sourcing and deal management and be more
Oh,
like,
Emma, this is my 28th year investing in real estate. I'm ex- when I started with Chad, Kim, Aaron, my partners at Quattro, Aaron asked me to partner with her and these two other people. I was like, I don't really partner with people because I was so used to doing things on my own.
yeah,
Did that deal. It was a 36 unit in Tennessee. It went really well. We decided to stay together. We did Quattro, and then the rest is history. But I told them when we were forming, and we actually hired a business coach to help us organize, I don't want to be the leader. I don't want to find a property. I don't want to run it. And I don't know what my role is going to be. At the time, the reason they came to me was because I just had a bit more net worth because I had all these single families and restaurants and clubs, and I had done a couple mobile home communities by that time. So I
hmm,
had some net worth, right? But I didn't want to. So in answer to your question, no, when I started, okay, we got 200 million under management now, whatever we have now. And I wanted nothing to do with finding property. Now I wanted to vet it to be there because
yes,
I'm the one who's going to talk to the investors about it. And it's my reputation, it's my personality, and it's my integrity that has to follow it. I'm good on spending time with people to organize their life. What freedoms are they going after? What are the best deals? What makes sense? What doesn't? Yeah, so I've gotten really good at that because I didn't focus on the other things. My partners did. Chad
okay,
is amazing at finding property and refinancing stuff. Kim is the asset management queen. Tammy runs the internal operations of the company, and Aaron helps me with investors because we have almost 1,000, a lot to deal with. But my role is my role. I'm a people dude. I'm going to stay there until I get this 100 million plus back to people plus interest, and then I'm going to shut her down.
yeah. It's a lot of work, and so that's why I think we have to talk to entrepreneurs on the show
Yeah,
about passive income
yeah.
because what's the exit plan? So that 15 years too late, like that hits hard because I was telling somebody when we first left corporate, my husband got laid off, but he was gonna quit. And they
Mhm.
just made it a whole lot easier for him to not chicken out with the severance and unemployment and all that. And I was like, okay, guess we're doing this. And I
Mhm.
told somebody, I said, I feel like we retired before we were really financially ready. And we are gearing up for a couple of lean, rough years. And somebody told me, she's like, your definition of retirement or your retirement journey is not very inspiring. And so I said, I feel like we did it too early. And he said, you're going to look back on this and say you did it too late.
Yep, I agree. And the problems are always going to be like I'm in a financial pinch now from a cash flow perspective because of some other stuff I had to deal with. It's not going to stop. Like life
Mhm.
continues. But if you can put yourself in a position where you can rely on yourself, even if you have to struggle a little bit, it's okay. What you've done, listen, you are one of the richest humans that I know because you're in control of your time.
That's true.
You're in control. I took my son to school this morning. He's in junior high now, so I can't come up to the school. I can't go to school right now. But I'm gonna meet him at the corner and walk with my son home. We're gonna play
Yep.
some football today, then I'm gonna drop him off at his boy's house, then I'm gonna go work out. I like that I am in total control of my time. I think that's wealth.
Yes.
The
Yes.
rest will always be there, will always be in it. Doesn't matter how much money I have or you have, there's always gonna be some issue. People are forgetting that you better live along this whole journey. There's
Yeah.
no end to it. It just keeps going.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Just words to live by is find the problems that are worth it
Yes.
and go seek out those problems. Because instead of seeking out the lack of problems or chasing this elusive happiness, we're working on saying, what do I want to deal with? What do I want to handle? What do I want to buy? Like when I had kids, like when you had kids, you're never ready. You're never going to have enough money to retire. You're
Right.
never going to be ready. You're also never ready to have kids, but you did it anyway.
Yeah.
And it all
Yeah.
worked out. Definitely a new set of problems with having kids. That's
Yeah,
a different podcast, but
yeah, yeah, for sure.
so, Maurice, how do people get in touch with you? I always ask everybody on the
Mm,
show, and if I forget, people tell me later because this is like people's favorite question of the whole show. Is not only how do people get a hold of you, but why should people get a hold of you after the show?
oh, well, that's their choice, but we are talking real estate, so I'm part of Quattro Capital. The website is the Quattro Way, WAY, thequattroway.com. Folks can get me there. My coaching and what I call thought leadership platform on lifestyle design and how to secure financial, time, geographic, and other freedoms is trylifeon.com, as well as the Try Life On podcast. I'm super proud of that. Yes, I do get coaching students from that venture, and it's been great, but that's not the point. The
Hmm.
point was I was trying to give folks, and this is why folks might want to reach out to me. How do you leverage the 9 to 5 more than it leverages you? Why are you defaulting to status quo? Why are you saying that person's versions of success is your version? How to implement systematic patience to get the goal you want from imagination to creation. I did all these things quietly in my core 17-year journey. Why my 23-year-old self did all this, I don't know. Why would he have 4 careers at the same time? I don't know. But now I've packaged it all in ways that people can consume because I really want to help people. So that's trylifeon.com or Maurice at trylifeon.com. And then I'm very active on LinkedIn so they can find me there.
Yes. Yes, that is LinkedIn is like the gateway to all the cool kids club or
Yes, it
something. It's
is.
like
Yes, it is.
I
It
I
is.
really feel like we get
So
to know
cool.
each other very well. Like the first time I met Erin, I was at a conference in Miami. So I was across the country, West Coaster mountain girl. And
Yeah.
I'm just standing there in the doorway and I hear, Anna, come here. And it's Erin. And she comes up, gives me this big hug, and we sit down at her table. And I just feel like I just got at the cool kids table right now. And I didn't know anybody at this conference, but I'd only ever met her online. And so that to me, like that's the power of networking right there. And she
For
introduced me to
sure.
people and I met so many people. And that's the purpose of this podcast. Reach out afterwards, network. It's very important because when I
Absolutely.
first started, and I would ask people who were more experienced than I was, or I'd be listening to podcasts like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Where do most of your deals come from or whatever? Like my network. Like I could just go down to Walmart and buy a network on the back shelf in the
That
babies and toddlers
gotta
section. Like
work.
yes, it takes time. And this is how you
Yeah.
build it is by actually reaching out to people after the show, having conversations, and then having that the 6 degrees effect where you're going to direct them to this resource or that resource, or I'm going to direct them here or there. So it's just, I cannot overstate how important that network is and how much I value our time, even on social media together, just chatting every day in the comments sections.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's
And it's a
good.
lot of work. It's a lot of work to post and comment every day. So I applaud you and appreciate you doing it because you post some really inspirational content. So I like,
It's a lot, but I've gotten very good at it in my own system, and then by 10 o'clock, it's off. And I actually so I post, comment, try to add value to people, try to go learn something, then I delete the app off my phone for the day. I don't
nice. It's, yeah. Otherwise, you're
you're
married to
just
it.
there all the time. "Nah, this is real life out here. I wanna go live it."
Yeah. And you've
Yeah.
picked really one platform that you're going to dominate. I see you on Facebook sometimes, things like that. But for the most part, like we've chosen the platform that we're going to
Yeah.
really spend a lot of time on. And we don't, it being omnipresent and all that would probably work better, but you got to have a team for that. And we just hadn't made decisions. So I loved hearing your story, your decision making process, and how you have been able to control not lifestyle creep like people talk about where they start spending more money as soon as they get a better job. I think entrepreneurs have the opposite. It's like business creep or like lifestyle
Yeah.
encroachment. Little by little, you're saying yes to more projects and you're like,
Yes. We
Why did I
create
do that?"
our own 9 to 5. Entrepreneurs are not immune. We
Yes.
create our own 9 to 5, and you have to intentionally push against it and make decisions that feel contrary to what the entrepreneurial herd is now doing. That's why everyone's, "What? You're slowing down? Why would you do that?" What is what is your version of success? I don't know. This is my version of success.
Yeah, mine is owning a lot less stuff. We
And
just it's like the white wall behind me, like, you could see if you're on
beautiful.
Facebook
It's
or whatever,
beautiful.
there's just, like, nothing there. I've got a bed in the background, my husband's like, "Why don't you ever hang up any pictures?" I'm like, "It's just visual clutter to me and more stuff that I got a desk to think about, look at." It's just and that's not everybody's definition.
Beautiful
We
game. You're looking at my office right there. There's my
Yeah,
office.
yep,
Post-it notes every day. What am I gonna do? What's important to me? What's my vision? And I put it in the kitchen because
yeah.
I don't want an office. I refuse to have an office anymore.
I love
Anyway,
the kitchen background. I think it's just the epitome of what we're talking about today. It's just, like,
absolutely.
really intentionally focusing on what's important and not getting bullied or pressured into the rest of the trappings. Because when we
Yeah.
decide this is important to me, I'm going to go after this hard, and the rest of it, I'm going to deal
Agree.
stoicism,
Okay.
control what you can and stop thinking about what you can't. So appreciate you sharing your story. Powerful.
Okay. My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
I feel like we could talk for 2 more hours about all your life
I think we
experiences, your
could.
4 careers, your parenthood journey. We didn't even get into that. So I appreciate your time, and we'll have to do this again next year. You definitely have,
Anytime.
you're a great speaker. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Be sure to reach out. Tell me about your passive income adventure goals, your journey, what you want to be doing. Maurice and I will help you figure out like what
Yeah.
path you should be going down. So jump on my calendar at investwithemma.com and I will see how I can hook you up with some resources. If you want to invest in our fund, if you want to do something completely different, we will help you figure out which direction to go because we just really like it and can't stop.
I get it.
All right. Until next time.